When should you take profits on a long-term investment? I'm going to tell you, sort of. And I know that I'm going to get a lot of hate in the comments from people saying, you're not giving a clear answer. You said a whole bunch of nothing. How do I know this? Well, let's just say this ain't my first rodeo. But Kenneth, why don't you tell people? Why don't you give people a clear answer? Well, that's because there is no clear answer. There is no one-size-fits-all approach for investing. Usually it's what's best for you at the time when you're facing that dilemma. Should I sell? Should I lock in some profits? So let's go over a couple scenarios. And remember that most investors are holding their stocks for retirement, so over the next 10, 20, or even 30 years. But here are some examples of when I have sold some of my long-term positions. In 1999, I became a shareholder in WWE, Pro Wrestling, The Rock, John Cena, you know the deal. And in 2003, I became a shareholder in Apple. In 2012, I became a shareholder in Meta, which was Facebook. And in 2015 or 2016, I became a Tesla shareholder. And my plan was, I'm going to hold these stocks forever. However, when I went to buy my home, the people from the lending agency or mortgage or whatever, the bank said, hey, what do you do for a living? And I said, I'm a stock trader. And they went, ha ha ha, you're never going to get a mortgage. So I had to sell some of my various stocks to help pay for my home. Another scenario you might find yourself in is if you are overweight a few different stocks. In other words, you have lots and lots of shares of a company that has had massive growth. You might then opt to hit that cash register and take some of your profits out. Not all. That's your call. I think a lot of new investors think that when it comes time to sell their investments that they have to sell 100% of their holdings, and you don't have to do that. You can sell 25 shares if you had 100. You can sell 50, 75. It's totally up to you. The third option is when you're getting closer and closer to retirement and you've let these growth stocks have massive gains over the last 10, 20, 30 years, and you now want to start moving your investments into something a little bit safer because you don't want to be 60, 70 years old retiring and finding that there's a massive recession and your big growth stock got absolutely wrecked. So another option for you would be to say, hey, I'm up a humongous amount in these growth stocks. I'm trying to invest a little bit more conservatively now that I'm heading into retirement. I'm going to trim back some of my big wins. Maybe not liquidate the whole position. Maybe trim back. Maybe go from 100 shares or 1,000 shares to 250 shares, whatever you feel like doing. And then you could put that money in safer investments like bonds or CDs or even really high quality dividend ETFs, stuff like that. And by the way, this whole approach where you trim back your massive gains and put them into safer investments, it's called rebalancing. And it's something that you can do periodically as an investor. You would rebalance your portfolio. You'd say, hey, I'm overweight tech. I don't have a lot of dividends. The tech stocks have had massive gains. I'm going to pare them down and shift them into safer, more boring investments. Lastly, you might be blown away with one of your gains. Maybe you picked something and you said, hey, I'm going to buy this tech stock with the plan of holding it for the next decade. And based on how other tech stocks have moved, say up 1,000% in the last 10 years, I'm going to sell it when I hit that 1,000% gain. But what happens if you hit that 1,000% gain in the first 3 years? Maybe you say, oh, wow, I hit my goal of 1,000% that was meant to be for a decade in a 3-year period. I'm very lucky. This was very fortunate. I've got a mortgage. I've got debt. I've got student loans. I'm going to cut back on some of those gains, maybe not all, but some, to pay down big expenses or mortgage payments or buy a home, whatever. But I'm saving the most important thing for last here because it was mentioned in the comment. You had some big gains over the last few years and you're worried about a downturn. So do you lock in your gains now or do you hold and then end up seeing your gains get wiped out? This depends mostly on what you're investing in. Risk management is also very important and your time frame. Did you make this investment with the plan of holding it for the next 20 or 30 years? Then who cares if there's a recession next month or next year? You just use it as an opportunity unless something has fundamentally changed with the company to average down and buy more shares. Remember, depending on the kind of account you have, if you sell now because you're expecting a recession to come, you might owe taxes. And you might be wiping out your cost basis at a very low price. So say the stock was $10 when you purchase it, and now it's $200. And you're worried that, a recession could come and it could drop to $150, so you sell it. Number one, you could be paying huge taxes. And number two, you lose your $10 cost basis, what you purchased the stock at. If you're planning on buy and hold investing for the next 30 years, it doesn't matter. You just keep holding, keep investing. And I know people are going to be pissed. They were pissed the last time. They said, all you do is talk. You didn't give a clear answer. But the reality is, there is no clear answer. My job is to provide all the scenarios for you so you can become a better investor who's capable of making your own decisions. Smash that follow.